Welcome back to Play the Game HQ. I'm Daniel, and in this video, we're going to teach you how to play 25 words or less from the app who helped sponsor this video. How many or how few words can you use to lead your team to the 5 words on this card? That is the question you'll be trying to answer in 25 words or less. This is a party game where players will take turns being the clue giver for their team, and each round the clue givers will bid on how few words they think they can use to get their team to say the 5 words on the card. The lowest bidder gets 1 minute to strategically lead their team to those 5 words, and if they're successful, their team keeps the card, and if not, the other team steals it, and the first team to get 10 cards wins. To set up the game, unroll the box in the middle of the table, then shuffle the cards and put them back in the box and set the sand timer to the side. Divide into 2 teams as evenly as possible, but it's okay if they're not exactly equal. Each card has a yellow side and a blue side, and you need to decide as a group which side you'll be using for the whole game. Both sides are the same difficulty, you just need to be consistent so there's no confusion between the clue givers about which set of words they're bidding on. Each round you'll select 1 player from your team to be the clue giver. The 2 clue givers will take the top card from the deck, and that's 1 single card, not 1 card for each clue giver, and then take about 15 seconds to study the words on the card. Remember, you need to agree beforehand which side of the card you'll be looking at so there's no confusion, and make sure that only the clue givers can see the words on the card. Once you've studied the words for a few seconds, the clue givers will take turns bidding on how many words they think they need to get their team to say all 5 of the words on the card. The team that set up the game will bid first, and then you'll alternate which team makes the opening bid as the game goes on. The opening bid can range from 20 to 25 words, and you can use the sand timer to track the bids. So in this example, our words are throne, storm, toll, cardigan, and trust. And I might start the bidding at 22 words, which means I think I can get my team to say all 5 of these words by saying 22 words or less. And that's not 22 clues, that's 22 total words. So for throne, I may say king's chair, and that's 1 clue, but it's 2 words. After the opening bid, players will go back and forth lowering the bid until 1 player decides to pass. So my opening bid was 22. The other clue giver might bid 20, and then I might say I think I can do it in 18. Then they say they can do it in 16, and I lower the bid to 15. And at that point, they pass because they're not confident they can do it in fewer than 15 words. The player who bids the lowest gets control of the card, and they'll be giving clues that round, and the other player becomes the judge. Now, before you start bidding, if both clue givers agree, you can pass on the card and draw a new one to bid on, which can be helpful if you aren't familiar with some of the words, but don't do that just because the words are hard. That's where the challenge and the fun of the game is. As soon as you have your winning bid, the now judge, that's the clue giver who didn't win the bid, will make sure the sand timer is on the number matching the lowest bid, then flip the timer over. The clue giver then has 1 minute to get their team to say all 5 words on the card, and while you're giving clues, the judge will track your remaining words on the board using the sand timer. So for throne, I would say king's chair, and that's 2 words, so the timer would move to 13. Assuming my team correctly guesses throne, I'll move on to storm. There are a few rules for giving clues. You're free to use voice inflection in leading phrases, like if my word is butter, I could say bread and you can also use the word blank, but that counts as a word. So for storm, I could say thunder blank, and that would be 2 words, which would put me down to 11. If your team gets hung up on a word, you can say pass and move on to the next word, but you will need to come back to that word to win the card. But passing lets your team know that you're giving clues for a different word, and pass does not count against your words. You also need to let your team know when they get a word right. You can point and say correct when they guess correctly, and that also doesn't count against your words. What you aren't allowed to do is say things like rhymes with or sounds like, and you can't use gestures. This is not charades. You also can't use any part of the word in the clue. So if the clue was firefighter, you couldn't say puts out fires. The clue giver will keep giving clues until the round ends, which can happen in a few ways. If your team successfully guesses all 5 words before you run out of words or time, you win the round and your team keeps the card. You lose the round if you say more words than you're allowed, if the timer runs out, or if you break one of the clue-giving rules, and it's up to the judge to decide if a rule was broken. If any of those things happen, the round ends immediately and the other team steals the card. To start the next round, pick 2 new clue givers, draw a new card, and continue playing, and the first team to collect 10 cards wins the game. If you'd like to play a friendlier version of the game, don't split into teams. Then take turns being the clue giver and draw a card and start the timer at 25 on the track. And your goal is to try to have as many words as possible left on the track when you get 5 correct answers from the group. And that's 25 words or less. If you have any questions at all, be sure to leave us a comment below and we'll answer as quick as we can. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.